Hi, I'm Kendra Galvin. I'm filming my art talk for Humanities, which is on the Entombment of Atala, painted in 1808. It's also known as Atala's funeral. So, during this time period in France, this painting was painted during the Romanticism era. So this started moving out of the neoclassical style of painting. Under the rule of Napoleon Bonaparte, Jacques Louis David was enlisted as the first painter of the empire. And this painter, he still had, he was kind of raised, and his art was very just influenced by the neoclassical style prior to this movement. So he did set the tone for the new era in a sense, but he set the tone for the era in a sense of still leaving classical influences from the prior era, if that makes sense. So, since the Romantic style was moving out of the neoclassicism style, like I just said, it still had classical models influencing the artwork heavily. So, neoclassical is defined as idealism, a lot of line art and structural components, sculptural forms, linearity, attention to detail, phrase-like placement of the dramatic narrative in context to the foreground plane. Whereas Romanticism still had a lot of these influences, but kind of in a new perspective. So a theme, defining characteristics of this artwork consisted of exoticism, which in this painting you can see in the background of the cave with the jungle-like appearances and setting. And also how the fact that the setting of the story is in the cave, at least for this very image. Okay, so it's exoticism, emotion, as you can see, eroticism, as you can see with the form of their bodies, and there's an element of fantasy usually within this work. And also some themes that are commonly within these works consist of unfulfilled love and the pain and the emotion of the individual. So feelings were very heavy at this time in poetry as well, so like in literary works, not just artworks. In conversation, such, just the air went with a lot of emotion. So the novelist who inspired this painting is Francis Auguste René de Chateaubriand. And they were born in 1768 and they died in 1848. But the artist who depicted this actual painting was actually a pupil of Jacques Louis David, who, if you remember, was the first painter of the empire during the setting, which still had the classical styles. That was him. So the painter of this was the pupil of him. So even though Jacques set the tone for the era in aspects of keeping characteristics from the prior era, Jacques really brought the new elements of Romanticism into this time period. And eroticism was actually really big in his work, or her work, I'm sorry. So, Anne-Louise Guiraud-Trevisan depicts the tragic story of Atala and Chadicus. They are both Native American men and women who are from different tribes and end up falling in love. However, the problem is Atala has taken a vow of chastity to her mother, and despite breaking that vow, she decides to commit suicide. And just expanding on this, they are both Native Americans. However, so while this is set in the primitive America of the 17th century, Christianity was brought into America during this time through like pilgrims and such like that. So Atala is a Christian Native American who falls madly in love with Chadicus, a fellow Indian, quote unquote, but that she is saved from a death sentence, taken in by a missionary, Father Avery, after a long walkabout. The lovers, however, cannot live out their passion. Trapped by the vow made to her mother to dedicate herself to religion, Atala chooses suicide in order to avoid succumbing to her passion, despite Chadicus's willingness to convert. so that he can be able to marry her. The tragic story of the young Native American woman and man, Chatticus and Atala, who have fallen in love but are from different tribes. And then again, rather than break her vow, she decides to commit suicide. In the painting, the upper half of Atala, as you can see, is held up by a hooded priest who helps Chatticus lower her gently into her grave. Chatticus has his arms and torso wrapped around her legs as if he could not get himself to let her go, physically, emotionally, or spiritually. A verse from the book of Job is carved on the cave wall. When it is yet in flower, it is not plucked with the hand, and weareth before all herbs. Jura drew the subject from Chatterberg's Atala, or the loves of two savages in the wilderness, which was also written in 1801. So there's a lot of religious aspects in here. There's two crosses. There's one in the background, and there's one by here, by Atala. And then, like we said, the scripture on Job. And the lush background is supposed to bring to mind the New World specifically, in the Louisiana wilderness, which was where this novel was set in general. So that's all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed. All right, and that's it.